Hey guys, alright, we are back with another extra credits video. This one, continuing our story through Genghis Khan. This time, Genghis Khan, the debut of Temüjin Khan, extra history number 3. Now, as I asked in number 2, I asked you guys if you guys knew about the legitimacy of the sources that they are using for Genghis Khan, because I wanted to know. You guys told me, and I'm gonna be honest, I think they are roughly reliable. I think they're as reliable as you're gonna get for Genghis Khan from what it sounds like, or at least the best sources available. You know, there's certainly issues with them, but I think if they are using secondaries, they're sources written by modern historians, as long as they're doing that, I think they're good. I mean, the way the information is coming across, I think, is really well done. So I think they're doing good here with the Genghis Khan series. So anyways, let's continue on learning about Temüjin.
A tragic beginning, a daring escape, and a rise to power.
And all before he was 20, right?
To life with
I think you guys also told me he was like 16 when he escaped slavery or something like that. Fucking insane. That's fucking crazy.
Could young upstart Temüjin be the one to defy custom and unite the Mongol clans under one ruler? Rumors of Temüjin's daring escape from Genghis' band traveled fast across the steppe. Respected prophets and religious leaders began to report that Temüjin's ascension to power was destined by the spirits, and Temüjin was 100% okay with that.
I would be too.
He summoned his followers to participate in a council called a Kurultai, which was essentially an election. Families, lineages, and clans voted by showing up. Their presence served as an endorsement, or their absence as a vote against him. Attracting a simple majority counted as a victory. Unfortunately, the turnout was scarce. The majority of steppe lineages still supported Genghis. Temüjin could work with this, though. Having now gathered all of his allies in one place, he consolidated this small but loyal group to establish himself as a minor Khan.
What's interesting about this is, or at least how it's coming across, despite them being nomadic and steppe people in Mongolia, they're very interconnected, it seems. They're very like the different tribes are still very connected in a way, if he's able to get all these people together. That's what it sounds like to me.
And
which
thus,
is impressive.
Temüjin became Temüjin Khan. He quickly sent an envoy to Ong Khan to reassert his loyalty and seek his patron's blessing, reassuring him that this new title was not meant as a challenge. Ong Khan was fine with it. He preferred that Temüjin and Genghis' ambitions stay focused against each other instead of him. With his patron's blessing secured, Temüjin built up a revolutionary system of government within his tribe. A Khan's court was known as an ordu, or horde, and traditionally the Khan's horde consisted exclusively of his relatives, and served as a kind of aristocracy over the rest of the tribe.
Kind of like, why am I... This is what I study. Why the fuck? A Witan. Literally translating to wise men from Anglo-Saxon language. Which was a council for the king. And this council was essentially relatives, or at least, you know, the way relationships would work in feudal and early Middle Ages Europe is a lot of these nobles, those that would find themselves on councils, are typically related to the king. There's some form of relationship there. And so this is kind of similar. So despite the distance of miles, humans come up with similar ideas.
Temüjin, however, assigned positions of power based on loyalty and ability, without regard for familial ties. He appointed butchers, cooks, archers, guards, and keepers of prized herds of livestock and horses. He also created an elite regiment of bodyguards to surround his camp at all times. Genghis, meanwhile, still refused to acknowledge Temüjin as anything other than an insolent upstart who needed to be put in his place. He carefully planned and bided his time, waiting for just the right moment to take Temüjin down. That moment finally came a year after Temüjin's Kurultai. One of Temüjin's followers killed one of Jamika's distant relatives during a cattle raid, and Jamika used this as a justification to attack Temüjin's camp with his vastly superior army, quickly routing Temüjin's forces. Then, to prevent them from regrouping and retaliating, Jamika perpetrated a horrific show of revenge, beheading one of the captured leaders and boiling 70 captive prisoners alive.
What the fuck?
Unfortunately for Jamika, this cruel show of force backfired hard, horrifying even his staunchest allies. By treating his enemies this way, he further emphasized the divisions between the old aristocratic lineages and the abused lower classes.
Yeah.
Temüjin may have lost the battle, but this moment was a turning point in terms of public support and sympathy. More families flocked to join Temüjin's camp, and he slowly began to rebuild. In 1195, a 33-year-old Temüjin would be handed an unexpected opportunity in the form of a foreign raid. A group called the Jurchid approached Ung Khan asking him to raise an army and attack their enemies, the Tartars. For this raid, Ung Khan enlisted Temüjin's horde. Now, Temüjin had much to gain from this venture, so he gathered support of his own. He approached a small clan directly to the south of his camp, the Jurchen, and offered them spoils and glory in exchange for participating in the raid. The Jurchen gave their word. They were in. Shortly before the raid, Temüjin invited the Jurchen to a feast. Unfortunately, during the celebration, Temüjin's half-brother Belgate spotted two Jurchen attempting to steal horses. He identified one of the thieves as a renowned wrestler named Buri, and readied himself to fight the man as an equal, thinking that they would wrestle honorably. Instead, Buri drew his sword and cut Belgate across the shoulder, a grave insult. When the rest of the feast heard about this, it turned into a drunken brawl. And by brawl, I mostly mean food fight, because in keeping with tradition, everybody had left their weapons behind. Needless to say, when the time came to set out on a raid against the Tartars, the Jurchen never showed up to help. As with the Kurultai, absence constituted a vote of no confidence in Temüjin. Victory was swift and easy, all the same, and the spoils were astounding. The Tartars had access to manufactured goods from the Chinese Empire, including silk clothes and blankets and gold and silver jewelry. Captured children wore luxuries the likes of which the ragged Mongols had never seen on anyone, let alone a child. The opulence was astounding. But more importantly, Temüjin saw clearly how the powerful Jurchid had just used one border tribe to fight another, and the lesson was clear. A tribe conquered today will rise up and have to be defeated again in an endless cycle of warfare with no decisive victory or lasting peace. Temüjin will remember this. With his newfound wealth, Temüjin was now prepared to push into the territories of smaller neighboring tribes. When he returned home to discover that the Jurchen had raided his camp while he was away, picking his first target became very easy. Now that he was an experienced, battle-tested commander, Temüjin and his mounted archers scattered the Jurchen with ease. With this victory in hand, Temüjin instituted another revolutionary change in ruling style. See, in the traditional cycle of Mongol raiding and counterattack, the defeated tribe was looted and a few key prisoners were taken, but the rest of the tribe was left alone. Historically, those survivors would then regroup and strike back, or seek out larger rival clans to join. Temüjin decided
it's kind of what Temüjin did himself.
That this cycle was not in his best interests. After defeating the Jurchen, he summoned a Kurultai of all his followers and conducted a public trial of the aristocratic Jurchen leaders. For failing to fulfill their promise of joining him in war, and for raiding his camp in his absence, they were found guilty, and Temüjin had them executed. After this, he went on to occupy the Jurchen lands and redistribute them amongst his followers. He then...
The redistribution of wealth? God. Communism rising.
Integrated the remaining Jurchen citizens into the households of his own clan, not as slaves, but as full members in good standing. He also adopted an orphaned Jurchen boy as his brother, giving him to his mother, Olun, to raise as her own son. Then, as a final show of force, Temüjin summoned all of his followers, including the newly adopted Jurchen, to a feast. For the event, he also summoned Buri, the wrestler who had started that great brawl by stealing horses and cutting Belgate. Temüjin ordered the two men to wrestle. Buri had never lost a match in his life, but he feared Temüjin's wrath and allowed Belgate to throw him. Normally, this would mean that the match was over, but Belgate and Temüjin had made their own plans. After winning, Belgate set upon the defeated Buri and broke his back. With this final merciless display, Temüjin had rid himself of all the Jurchen leaders and sent a clear message to all who might oppose him.
That's fucked up. That's dark.
If you surrender to Temüjin and remain loyal, there are great rewards to be gained. But if you betray him, there will be no mercy, and nobody, not even aristocrats, are safe. Temüjin moved his base of operations into Jurchen territory, continuing to conquer and attract lesser lineages. Meanwhile, Jamika worked to establish himself as a leader and advocate for the aristocrats, who feared the threat Temüjin posed to their traditions and way of life. Then, in 1201, once he had the full support of the aristocracy, Jamika made a play for the title of ruler of all Mongols. He summoned his own Kurultai and successfully bestowed upon himself the title of Gur Khan, an ancient and revered title which meant universal ruler. This was a strategic choice. Jamika chose this title not just because it was ancient and respected, but also because the last person to bear the title was Ong Khan's uncle, who had ruled until Ong Khan revolted and killed him. Jamika was not just challenging Temüjin here, but Ong Khan as well. If he could win this war...
Why is he not challenging his father? Right? Ong Khan is his dad, right?
He would be the supreme ruler of the Central Steppe. As Temüjin's patron, Ong Khan came out personally to lead his warriors in the campaign against their rival. The battle was as much psychological as it was physical. Shamans lined the rocky cliffs along the battlefield, beating ritual drums to summon supporting spirits and control the weather. As they beat their drums, a massive thunderstorm gathered, which both sides attributed to the shamans supporting Temüjin. This shook the resolve of many of Jamika's warriors, and caused many to desert in fear of angering the spirits. Jamika was forced to retreat. Ong Khan chased after Jamika and the main part of his army, while Temüjin gave chase to the Taichut, one of the clans loyal to Jamika, and coincidentally, the clan that had abandoned him and his family decades before. They proved difficult to defeat. Both sides fought for hours, firing from horseback, from fixed positions behind rocks, or hastily assembled barricades. Toward the end of the day, a poisoned enemy arrow struck Temüjin Khan's neck, knocking him unconscious. Darkness fell, and both sides made camp on the battlefield to rest until daylight. Thanks to the aid of his loyal second-in-command, Temüjin recovered by the next morning. The Taichut didn't even know that Temüjin had been injured, and most of them had fled in the night. Temüjin sent his warriors in pursuit, and, as with the Jurchen, publicly executed their leaders and integrated the rest, taking over their lands. He also found the family who had helped him escape 30 years prior, and freed them from their servitude. Temüjin had won this fight, but Jamika escaped Ong Khan and fled to more remote parts of the steppe to regroup and recruit new allies. Even without the Taichut, Jamika still had many clans loyal to him. The final showdown was yet to come.
Dun dun dun. This was good. I think I liked this part more than the previous part. Yeah, I don't know. I think the last part, there was a lot of information that they covered. I think it was a bit much. This one felt a bit more concise. Like they knew where to go better with this part. This is what it seems like. This one just felt overall better to me. I'm love it. This is really cool. Didn't know anything about Genghis Khan's life really. Yonian, at least in the classes that I've been a part of, kind of only learned about him briefly, like, oh, this dude in Mongolia came to power, he united all the tribes for like the first time ever, and then he conquered like fucking everyone. It's kind of all you learn. You don't really learn much else. And then you learn his son conquers China, right? It was his son, or was it his grandson that conquers all of China? I can't remember. But yeah, this is a good series. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are too. That was Genghis Khan, the debut of Temüjin Khan. This is embarrassing. Genghis Khan. What is wrong with my mouth? The debut of Temüjin Khan. Extra History number 3 by Extra Credits. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And leave a suggestion down below for what you want to see me react to next. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.